Okay, we're recording.
Okay, here we go. Carolyn, did you get a chance to look at the documents that Betsy had sent us?
Yeah.
What are you thinking about where to go from here?
Um, Sorry, well, I
Oh,
mean,
there's Sarah.
okay.
Yeah, we'll wait a sec for her, I guess.
I need to make her a co-host. One moment.
Okay.
So she can speak.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, sorry about that. I was actually on the phone with Suzanne
Oh,
and didn't
no
see the time
worries.
go by.
No worries. Welcome. We were just starting. So I had just said to Carolyn, what are you thinking about the documents? And she was gonna talk, and then you came on, so we're waiting for you.
Great.
So, I mean, we kind of,
Would you like me to share it? Anybody? Does that help or not? No. Okay.
I have them open, but
I have them open too.
well,
Okay.
If an audience member joins, maybe we could turn them on.
Okay.
Sarah, you have them handy too, right?
Let me go get them.
Okay.
I guess I would sort of roll back to Mariah, were you in this group last year?
Mhm.
Okay, sorry. It was such it I think of it as sort of like a nebulous kind of as needed sort of group. But that's how it just seemed last year. So there's the roles and norms and then the communication and engagement norms. So in terms of, I don't know, I'll start with the proposed school committee communications and engagement norms, because that's what I have open, but
Mm.
um generally speaking, my thoughts on these documents is I find them slightly perplexing. Not all of it, but some of it is just I don't quite I'm not really clear on sort of what the genesis is or what anybody ever felt a need was for like conduct of meetings, public comment, that's in our policy. Like I kind of assume collegiality and that sort of, we're all grown-ups and we'll treat each other as colleagues. So I'm not even really sure what the genesis of this is or what anybody
Would
felt like.
it be helpful if I can't answer the one about the
Sure.
school committee norms, but the communication norms were,
Yeah,
well, I actually can answer it, but let me start with the communication
yeah,
ones. So before um, I joined school committee, I often found that I would write school committee and no one would write back. And it was frustrating to feel like you might be speaking to people and there was never a response, right? And so when I and Andy, and I can't remember, there were some other people who were really interested in like, how do we make it so that when people, so that we're making our communications a little bit more intentional and proactive. Now, the document that you see that is the one that's proposed SC communications and engagement norms.
yeah.
Stephen modified it quite a bit, if I recall, unilaterally. Not like it's not completely dissimilar, but I think there was like some more sort of explanation about some of this stuff at some point.
Uh-huh.
And it melted away a little bit. But part of it was um, because I don't think it even includes like the calendar now. Oh no, it's sort of in there in like the 3B 1 and 2. But really it was like everyone can like so that if the member of the public writes to us that like they're guaranteed to get at least one response. Everyone can feel free
Right.
to write too, but like they'll
Yep.
at least get one response so they know that
Yep.
their message was received. Betsy's already elevated that too, because when they write into the school committee address, she acknowledges their email too, right? She usually will say to them like, thanks so much for writing, your email's been forwarded, blah, 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 blah. So that often already at least has people getting a response from Betsy. And then someone each week is supposed to be on, whether they do their job or
Right.
not, hard for any of us to know, right?
Right.
But like, at least we feel like, oh, well, if I'm busy one week, I don't have to feel like I'm obligated to write back to all of them, because there should be someone who's writing back to all the messages they get. And there's like an escape hatch in here, like, what happens if you get like 50 messages in one week and you can't deal? Like, right, there's ways to reach out to other people and ask to share the burden, which we've done in prior, like last year, I think we had a couple of times when we had very heavy email traffic and people asked for help. And so really it was about, how do we improve the email communication in? And then how do we really be more proactive and intentional about going out to the community? And so you see some of that in like section, I think it's like 2, like proactive. So it's like thinking about attending community meetings, like the PTOs, seniors, right? Like school signature events. School committee members, as you see in 2D, they're encouraged to initiate and hold sessions. And then as you see in D1, and then they're requested to inform and invite the remainder of the committee. So those are the kinds of things that like we really wanted to sort of be more present and be more responsive. And that's what the genesis of this was to share this. Now, the other thing of it is, people often write to us when it's an operational issue. And so that's why in that document, there was this whole section about, it's on page 4, I think, or 3, sorry, like who's the person who should handle like the staff member and the school committee member. So if it's like, sometimes if it's like a school committee issue about curriculum, you might say, I don't know, even if you're the person on that week, I don't know, but let me CC my colleague Suzanne, who's the chair of curriculum, or whoever might be that person. Or if it's really a staff thing, like maybe you just send it straight over to Robin, or maybe you CC them both, like, but that basically we don't try and necessarily, we don't feel like we have to cover every single thing that comes at us. We can just pass it off to people whose expertise might be better at responding to the question.
Sure.
And I do want to speak to that if I can, but did you want to say something first, Carolyn?
Nope.
Does that help
Yes.
Carolyn sort of understand the background for that document?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my observation is that we're having trouble with that the part that you just talked about. And I think about it as like, say, so for example, we just had Jesse and Donna go out to, oh, this is a recorded meeting, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So we just had an issue where I thought that school committee members elevated issues to the level of the school committee that were operational issues that would usually take place in a communication with the principal. And when I thought about that, I thought that especially at a school where principals new to come onto, that could be really intimidating and really kind of getting us involved at a level that a principal doesn't want to go to, right away. And so I see these norms as important because we do have to make sure that as people come onto the school committee, they understand what is under their purview and what is something that's better left to management.
Well, but I saw that email is a little bit different. I saw
I
that
don't know. Can you guys tell me what you're talking about?
Jesse sent us an email this morning saying, here are the questions brought up at the FRR PTO meeting.
Oh,
And Donna wrote back and said, thank you. All
okay.
Jesse said was, these were the questions people brought up.
So
He-
sorry, Sarah, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And why is that problematic?
Well, and I'm
So
saying I don't see it as problematic
Yeah.
because
neither.
we don't know if he said, I don't know how they responded. If they said, these are things like you should talk to the building leader about them. To me, I don't know that to me, he wasn't elevating them to the school committee to talk about. He was just letting us know what had come out of people's mouths at the meeting.
Yeah, it was a report.
Yeah, that's
The
how I
same as
interpret
we
it.
have
So
like
I'm not, yeah.
report on the parent leader meeting.
that's funny because I see that completely differently. If I were a principal, not even just a new principal, but if I were a principal and there were issues that were reported to the school committee before there was kind of like a chance for the principal to deal with the management side, that would be a real tough thing for me as a principal.
But most of these things aren't building issues, like ICE procedures and support. What is the district's plan? That's not a building issue. Like
But what about,
restoring OEE, what is the plan? World language expansion. To me, it was a mix. You're right. Some of them are very specifically
a
building
mix, yeah.
questions, but not all of them are. I didn't see it necessarily as a complaint. And for all I know, Principal Yuen was there.
Yeah, and I'm not speaking for her. I'm
Right.
just saying that in the way that schools operate, to elevate something to the school committee level that quickly would, as a school leader, would really, really
But
bother
it's
me.
like minutes from a meeting. If we're gonna have community meetings, people are gonna speak. And like, I would expect school committee members, I mean, not expect, but I think it's great to report back. Here's what people are talking about.
I have a completely different understanding of it. My understanding of what we get involved with is governance.
But
And
he's
when
not
it,
asking us to get involved. He's reporting what people talked about. It was like
Yeah.
minutes.
That's
Here's
how
what
I
people talked
interpreted it
about.
too. Not like, and
Nobody was asked to
at first,
do
Sarah,
anything.
I interpreted it the way you did. And then I looked at it and said, it just says questions that came up. And so I took a different read of it my second time through.
I mean,
Of
that's
like,
literally,
was
like,
he
there's
asking?
nothing in there where anybody is asked to do anything. So if that's what you mean by elevate, well, I don't know what you mean by elevate.
yeah, I mean, I mean that if it's not under our purview, if it's not governance, I feel that that conversation is between the parents and the principal. And I just know, maybe not that particular principal, but if I were in that situation, that would not fly well with me.
But what's the point of school committee going to a PTO meeting, for example? If like, I guess my question is, why should they be there at all if there's supposed to be no interaction between the parents?
Not that there's not supposed to be no interaction, but for schools committee to report on how we're working through, the lead up to a potential override, that seems to me is well. Sorry about that. I've got a very excited dog next to me. Here, I'll put it in a crate. For issues that are about governance, I completely understand the school committee's interactions with parents. I am surprised by and don't understand school committee inserting themselves into the conversations that really should be between the principal and
Nobody's
the
inserting
parents.
themselves. This was
Yeah.
reported to them.
I just thought he was basically writing down the questions that came up and just like, basically, these are the things that people ask questions about it all, not that they were saying school committee get involved or anything else.
And
Now,
guess
I will
would
say I had a
okay.
different take on the email we got from a parent. I won't get into the, like, that was also relating to that visit. But I think that like this list was just a list of questions. Let me take it, like, not to get too much into the weeds, but are
Yeah,
you
let's go
saying,
back to this
yeah, Sarah,
document.
like, are you saying that there is something in the communication norms, like that would say that Jesse shouldn't write those kinds of emails? Or like, what was your intent in bringing up that specific email?
The way that I read the norms is that I think that what we do when we go out to the school committee, to the PTOs, is that we talk about the things that are under our purview in order to update people. People talk to us about the things that rise to the level of school committee issues, and that's what we engage on. And I'm worried if we engage on management issues that it looks like we're taking that back to, like, okay, you can expect an answer to this, by next week, or something to be done on it.
I think it is worth perhaps clarifying that when people go to these things, they can say like, I'll ask about things, but they shouldn't, to your point, sort of say like, I'll get you the answer or whatever, right? Like, or you can, as you say, you can expect an answer by next week.
I mean, it's no different than receiving an email. We can't control what people email us about.
But Sarah's point is you can control what your response is. If you
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
right, I'll get you an answer on that by the end of day today, you're presuming
But
theoretically.
again, and I mean, I'm not super comfortable sort of picking apart Jesse's
Right, I'm
specific
divorcing this from Jesse's
email. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I
guess
didn't see
just
Jesse's
going
email as that.
back to generally speaking, like I approach school committee from a collegial perspective. I assume and hope that everybody does, that everybody's a grown up, everybody's coming in with good intentions. And so some of this, like I would tend towards sort of less attempt by documents to sort of really control people's speech and actions. And I think sort of general guidelines are helpful, and sort of where to take things is helpful. I mean, you know, if we have to have a document that says when someone calls a colleague, they call them back, then we have a bigger problem than trying to finalize this document. Like, my
I agree, we
expectation
have a
is
big
if I
problem.
call a colleague, they call me back.
Carolyn, I would disagree with, I think that it is helpful to have norms. It is helpful to write things down. I think
Yeah.
that some things that are implicit in one person's mind are not in another person's mind. And so I think having
Mm.
a document that points to shared expectations is actually really helpful.
Yeah.
And so even if just because like some of this document has things like do this specific thing, and if no one ever tells you to do that specific thing, then you're sort of at a loss, right? So just having like a list of these are the things we do is helpful, even if it's not all about behavior. And I think that you're probably right that some of the bits about like, and I don't know exactly where this is, I think it's in the October 24 document. I don't know exactly. You were pointing to somewhere about collegiality. I'm not sure where that is in here.
Oh, I don't know if that's in there. That's
Oh.
just kind of that's a word that I like because I feel like it encompasses things that I believe in terms
Okay.
of
So I
sort
was
of
going to say
mutual
like those
respect
kinds of
and
words, one
approach.
person's collegial might not be another person's. If they're hard to define, it makes it more
Yeah.
tricky. Even if you could say them and hope that people understand. I personally think it would be valuable to there's a section of the handbook, I think it's section 1, that's all about school committee. I'm pretty sure, and like how we operate.
You mean
And
the policy
yeah, the
manual?
policy handbook, exactly. That is all about school committee, but it includes some things and it doesn't include other things. And I wonder, and part of what Andy was going to do last year, which he didn't do, was this governance handbook. And I wonder what you think about as a group taking section 1 and refreshing it and turning it almost into like a handbook that includes some sort of more practical norms, but also some of the things that are already enshrined in policy. And I'm just pulling up the policy. Or have either one of you ever read section 1? I'm just curious.
Probably, but
I have in the past. Should we all go there now?
Yeah, I'm just thinking it might be like, or maybe it's section B. There's foundations and basic commitments as A, and board governance and operations as B. It might not be B, it might be A. I'm just trying to look back at like
Board governance is B.
it's B. Okay. So there's some of it that's like um
Do you want me to pull it up, anybody? I don't want to be jumping in, but tell me if you want me.
no, I think it might be
I have it up.
yeah, I have it up too. Do you have it up,
I will in a sec.
Carolyn? Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I just sort of wonder like when you were it's sort of like how do you get a new school committee member up to speed? And when you're a new school committee member, it feels like or it felt like to me, and you both have had different experiences, you joined at different times. It was really hard to understand what was going on. And I'll give one example that I think has gotten better. When I first joined, every single meeting we had that was a school committee meeting, Robin would send us like a folder and it would have like just like all the information for that meeting. And it would be like in a random place. And then I said like, Robin, can we just get one folder for the entire year? And like, can you just put all these subfolders in there so we don't have to get like all these folders? And then Betsy built on that. And now she has that school committee folder that has like some subfolders in it. So it's almost like rather than having all this information sort of splatted at you in different places and people are not necessarily like giving you all of it in one consolidated place, like could we be really giving this document that sort of is like a shared understanding of like what school committee does and what it doesn't do, to sort of alluding to some of Sarah's earlier points, and sort of like some of the key philosophical underpinnings of school committee, so that we do all sort of hopefully have a stronger shared understanding of what we're up to without having to like look in 100 places and that kind of thing.
Do you feel that the school policy manual does address the issues that you would like us to.
I think it addresses some of them, like the commenting practices, I think is helpful for school committee members. I'm not buying that for you. No, you're not having that. No, no, sorry. I'm not buying that for you. No, we're not getting that because you already had that on Thursday. Out you get. You did. Come on, I'm on a meeting. You did. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. One moment.
Carolyn, do you mind if we keep on speaking?
No, go ahead.
Go for
So
it.
when at one point you were saying in how is that different than emails? I actually see this issue happening
Sorry,
with
how is what different than emails?
how is it different that somebody went to meet with PTO, with a school committee member went to meet with PTO, a PTO, and took issues back? How is that different than somebody sending in an email? That had been your point. And
No,
I
it
was going,
wasn't. That wasn't my point. My
okay, what
point
was your
is
point?
when we go and talk to people, we can't control what they say to us, the same as we can't control what people email to us. That's just
Right.
what people talk about is what they're going to talk about.
Exactly. So what I think that we need to address is not only in how we respond to people during a PTO meeting, we also have to have to address how we respond to people who write in. And so there are norms that I had thought we had about us addressing things that are under our purview and not kind of implicitly saying that we were going to address things that aren't under our purview by responding to somebody and saying, oh, I understand how hard that is, or that you're frustrated by that, and getting back to them about it. So I do think that the communication needs to be something that the 9 of us understand together.
So, sorry, jumping back. Okay, I hear what you're saying there. So Mariah, you're now going to the policy manual, but I guess now I feel, although I'm sure it's going to make sense to look at the policy manual too, but we started with this document.
Right.
So I guess I'd say to you, Mariah, are there, you started by asking just sort of what we thought. Is there, in terms of the proposed school committee communications and engagement norms, are there things, what's your feeling about this document as it stands? Are there things that you feel strongly need to be there that aren't, or are and shouldn't be?
Well, what I feel strongly about is what Andy was hoping to do last year was
Yeah,
create that governance handbook. And we had
okay,
talked about these communication norms and the other document that was here, the roles and norms and some of this other stuff all
yeah,
coming together into one document, and it didn't happen.
yeah.
But I really think I thought it was a good idea then, and I still think it's a good idea. And so what I would like to have is like, can we get this going? You know, can we come up with something where we where maybe some of the like very structural, like I don't know exactly what's in B, but like some of the stuff that's really like, you know, we were founded due to MGL, but like, you know, some of that sort of very legalistic stuff stays where it is. But some of the thing that really has to do with school committee operation among themselves really comes out into this handbook. And I just think it would be really beneficial. It's almost just like something small we can refer to as we're thinking about our norms. It's like the Roberts Rules of Order, except it's like school committee rules of order. And it's like, we do this and we do this, and this is how we talk to each other, and this is how we talk to the community and things like that. And some of it, like just to add, like Stephen very clearly was like, this should be the format of your signature on your email. And maybe it shouldn't be like that specific, but it should be like have a signature that like includes like your email address in case I don't know, or like have a signature that includes your phone number, or it doesn't. It just says, you know, you don't need to have that. I think that this is the kind of thing is like, what do we care about and what do we not care about? Or do we want to say, consider having a signature? And here's one example. You know, there's like, it's sort of, some of the stuff is small and petty, but it really helps people when they're communicating with you. But some people might care about it less. So I guess it's really about like having people understand the options too of like what they might care about. It might also be things like like operationalizing the calendar, the communications calendar a little bit more. Cause like when Steven went away, he was the one plugging in the dates. And then I think we went a month or so without anyone realizing that no one was responding. So how do we like fix that kind of a thing? It's just, I think that we should sort of really be intentional in this, and it might be nice as more of a, like the policy document is sort of meant to be very stable. And this one I feel like could be a little bit more of a living document. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
What do you think, Sarah? And
Um,
one example that I think of that's like helpful here is like the um, having the, like I said, the public comment policy is really helpful. Like school committee relationship to the superintendent, school committee relationship to staff, like how when you talk to them, how you talk to them. I feel like um, this is one of those things that I think is implicit. And some school committee members think that they should be able to talk to staff. Some don't think so. Some staff think that school committees should be able to talk to them. Some staff don't think so. So I feel like having this document where we all understand that this is the shared understanding would be really valuable. Just like that kind of thing. It seems to be creating a lot of friction. And how do we make sure that we're all operating on the same shared set of assumptions?
I mean, this is really not going to be, I mean, I'm going to say this because it's responsive to what you literally just said. And I'm not really sure sort of how it fits into these questions of documents.
Mm,
But one of the things that happens naturally is that whatever the rules or norms and shoulds and shouldn'ts, in practice, as a matter of course, there's just not going to be total consistency on that. Like you, Mariah, for example, have total access to staff. Well, I mean, like you go to town hall, you meet with Susan. Like I never meet with staff.
because I'm finance chair, right? But like I've
Yeah,
never met with Robin.
yeah.
I've never met with Karen in my role as school committee. So
And
like,
that's not a sort of, I'm just saying, that's not a criticism of you. It's an observation of that in practice, there are lots of good reasons. Um,
but that could
or
be
there
in
might
there.
be like something people are working on, or and communication is good, right? Like collaboration is good if school committee and the superintendent and her staff are all going to be rowing in the same direction. So I'm just sort of putting out there that I guess that's where sometimes, and I totally get it, and I'm on board with having these documents. Like I'm not opposed to these documents, but I also think guidance is really, really helpful. And then there's always going to be some variation for one reason or another. And again, I think it's incredibly important as a functional, healthy committee for us all to give each other the benefit of the doubt in terms of our different relationships and different interactions and that kind of thing. So I think that's what I'm sort of getting at. You know, we're never gonna like operate completely within the confines of sort of every word on a page. But I do think, but I'm not opposed to guidelines for sure, which is ultimately kind of what this is. And then in terms of having kind of what you're saying, did Andy start something? Like, does he have a
No,
draft?
I asked him and he did not.
Okay.
I think life got the better of everybody last
Yeah.
year.
Well, and that's the only other thing is like, I mean, is it um is it aspirational or realistic?
I don't, I mean, Sarah, I'd be curious what you think, but I don't think it's aspirational to put something like this together because it's never going to be perfect. But if we start with something and we iterate, that's okay. What do you think, Sarah?
Would you like me to take a try? Yeah, I think it's possible. Would
Yeah.
you like me to take a stab at it? I could make a draft for us and then we could discuss it.
Sure. I'd be okay with that. Carolyn, would you be okay with that?
Sure, yeah.
Especially thinking like if you're willing to sort of tease out which bits of policy you think should come out of it into a handbook.
So would you like me to start with the document that we started with and add to it? Or would you like me to write it as one section of a handbook that we don't yet have that we might have in the future?
I think we should, in my personal goal is that we have a handbook and that like communication norms and all of this is part of the handbook. And that the handbook might also say to people, for example, you might want to look at the MASC website, PSB policy, like it might sort of tip them off
Yeah.
to like useful places in the world, like for them. Because I don't think, Betsy, do we have any sort of like cheat sheet for onboarding new members? We don't, right? Like,
I again, only because I have it because Robin did it. Everything I
okay,
do is basically based on what she did.
yeah,
I do have an introductory email I send. I think the problem
okay.
is I send it the next day, right when they're brand new, and it has a lot of information that, probably doesn't make sense that first day and might make sense later, but
Now I'm so curious. Did I get that email from Robin
probably
on my first day and I
it might
never
say
even.
welcome. It's called Welcome to the School Committee. I think I even kept the subject line that she had, so.
I'm so intrigued. I'm going to go back in time to my very first email to see if.
And in the vein of that, and I don't know if this sort of, maybe it does fall under this. I don't know if it does. So like, I think it would probably be useful if after, every June or July or August or whatever, after an election, assuming that any new members join the school committee, that at least some part of our next workshop would be dedicated to exactly this kind of topic. That was my hope and expectation of what was going to happen. When was our workshop? Early fall, late summer? Was for us, for a new group to talk as a new group of individuals, and talk about how they, are going to work healthfully, work well as a group of individuals and all of that kind of stuff. So, I don't know, maybe that can be sort of a recommendation or something if people
Yeah.
agree, but I think that was, I think that's missing. And even if, if there's one or two or three new people, even just kind of like going back through and, talking about things that came up in the prior year or refining, in person, in discussion, I think would be really useful.
I do too. I agree so that's something that like it would be really helpful for, again, shared understanding of norms and then if they need to be tweaked, they get tweaked through that process.
Yeah.
Sarah, it might be helpful too is I think that there are other school committee handbooks that exist. And so it might be helpful to go see what other school committees have and like snag
I was
theirs.
thinking that.
Yeah.
So I'm not right now offering to write a full school committee handbook. I'm offering to write the communication norms section for a future school committee handbook. Is that
Mhm.
okay? All right. I'm going to write some notes down about that.
And then how would we sort of, if Sarah drafted something,
Mhm.
ultimately that would go as if this is called a group, but as if it was a subcommittee, it would ultimately go to the full school committee for discussion.
Correct. It even though we are, as you say, a working group, we're still a subcommittee. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Mariah, does it come up that we might need a leader, or does this work well for you that we're all three equal?
There seems to be some like impression that I'm in charge of communications working group, and I am not in charge of communications.
Right. No,
working
I know
group.
that.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It's not a subcommittee. There's no chair as
Right.
far as I know. So I am fine with our approach of the three of us. If either one of you, if someone wanted to be chair, I would be happy to let them be chair, like to vote for them to be chair, but I do not. This is fine for me too.
I think this,
Carolyn, are you at all interested in being a chair of this?
I just think it works this way. I would
Okay.
agree with Mariah. I don't particularly see a need for that.
Great.
So.
But the thing
um,
too, I just want to go back, Sarah, is while you might not want to write the whole handbook and that's okay, it can be something like understanding how other committees have it. We might choose to adopt a whole section from another committee because we think it's well done, right? And I don't even know what other sections, like handbooks might just be about communication. So like that could be it, right? I'm not,
Okay, so I'm very happy to bring forward to you a short draft of a handbook, and then it's not me just writing it, because of course the two of you will weigh in and tell us
Yeah.
what you think. So okay, I'm very happy to bring forward a handbook to the school committee.
Thanks. I think that would be helpful. Do we want to set a time frame, like for our next meeting? Does
Next
this
week?
time, when do you think is reasonable? Do you want it like in a month, do you think?
I can do 4 weeks, yeah.
That would be the 3rd. Does that work for you, Carolyn? Monday,
Yeah.
November 3rd, 5 p.m. again?
Sure.
Betsy, is that okay? And do we
Yep,
have any other
that's
things we
open.
don't know?
That's
Okay.
open. The next day is
Uh,
election
s-
day, the state election.
Sorry,
Is there a
there's
state election this year?
Well, maybe not, actually. Is
I
there?
don't
There's
think
no
so.
school on the 4th.
Right, sorry, it is PD day. I always think of it as
Okay.
election day, but
if we're going to do 5 o'clock on the 3rd, I have something that I'll be bumping up against, and the 10th I don't. Would the 10th work? Or the 27th I don't.
The 27th I can't do at 5 o'clock.
So why don't we do the 10th, if
The
that
10th
works?
should work for me.
Okay.
so 5 p.m. on Monday, the 10th?
Mm-hmm.
Also eve of no school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it?
November is such a fun month. There's like 3 days of school.
I think that would be helpful, Sarah. Like that gives you plenty of time to just poke around. I'm gonna do a little Googling too and see what
Yeah.
else we find.
I'm just in a meeting, honey. Grab some yogurt to start, and then I'll make you some dinner. Oh, sorry, I meant to click
That's
audio
okay.
and I clicked video. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. And I know there's only 3 of us here, and Bob is here too. Betsy, I think Bob can join, right? Because I just want to, like, does Bob want to add anything? Because he can, right? Because it would still only be 4 of us.
It's a bit of a jump call. I'm not exactly sure. We certainly will not have a school committee quorum. You're right.
Yeah.
So,
So I think it's okay. We
Alright.
couldn't have a quorum, but as long as we're 4, we're fine. Bob, do you want to add anything? You can unmute yourself now.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi. Do I want to add anything? No,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think the work that Sarah has agreed to do, checking out some other handbooks on communication, would be a good idea. I think, anything that's formal that helps us behave, I like, behave in a way that's helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm listening. I'm happy about what you're doing. And do I have any brilliant ideas? No.
Okay. Well, I like it. It's an endorsement. We'll keep going the way we're going.
Thank you for inviting me in.
Yeah. Okay.
Take-
Thanks, everybody. So I guess we'll wrap up, right? We're done.
We're done.
Sure.
Thank you,
Good to see
Sarah.
everybody.
Yep.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.